everybody? Welcome to another episode of Heavily Biased Talks College Football. So today we are going to be going over Week 6, give our thoughts on what happened, and also talk about the upcoming slate for Week 7. Got another great slate of college football. So first, let's get into Texas OU, Red River Rivalry. Red River, that's tough to say. Red River Rivalry.
Why haven't you even said hello to me or anything?
Well, because I thought we would just get into it. Sometimes I feel like we just waste time just saying hi to each other.
No,
you know?
No. If people want to see the things, they'll go to the clips on YouTube. People that are tuning into this part want to watch the whole thing.
All right. Well, Justin, how are you today?
I'm doing good. Let's jump right into things. Talk some football. No,
enough with the
all joking aside.
Pleasantries.
Enough of the small talk. Yeah, no, all joking aside, I'm excited to talk about these games. I'm really excited to talk about the upcoming week of football. But I felt like we found out some things about some teams this week. I feel like this week was I think the next, last week and then these next 2 weeks are going to really show us who's who, because we got a lot of, especially in that Pac-12 conference. That's what I'm most excited about, is to start seeing the big heavy hitters in the Pac-12 go head to head, and we get the big one this upcoming week with Oregon and Washington. But I felt like we found out a lot about some teams, and yeah, I'm ready to jump into it. But
yeah, so let's talk first about Texas OU. So that was just, we kind of said on the show that the way that Texas was going to lose this game is if they had a lot of turnovers, if we didn't play the way that we're capable of playing. And OU came out and played really well. I think that I was more surprised with just how much OU's grown, from last year. I knew that they would try hard just because of how bad they got embarrassed last year, but they looked really good, and they look like a team that should be top 10 for the rest of the year. And I know a lot of people want to say, oh, Texas played terrible. I don't think we played terrible. I think we had a rough first quarter, and we did some things out of character. We had a lot of penalties, stuff like that. But I would say we played like a B-. I don't think we played awful. But again, I don't think we played our best football either.
Yeah, I've been saying it all year that our slow starts were going to come back to haunt us, and that's 100%. A lot of stuff happened in the game, but that was 100% what happened. Quinn, that first interception that Quinn throws, I've watched that clip like 40 times, just trying to understand like what he was seeing on the field. That one was so bizarre that he just threw it so nonchalant, and it was just an easy pick. We got off to a bad start. We had 2 turnovers. Luckily, our special teams showed up for us early in the game. Our defense was nowhere to be found, which I have to pretty much eat my words. Like, I've been saying that I thought Texas had the best defense in the country. They absolutely do not. That was shocking to me, how we didn't make any adjustments to Oklahoma's short passing game. Yards after the catch absolutely killed us all game. We let Gabriel, everybody's like, we were even saying it like, we got to put pressure on Gabriel. Well, they negated that with like short passes. They didn't even really try to run the ball. They just did a lot of short passes, a lot of yards after the catch. Guys that we normally depend on defense didn't do anything. Ford, I don't know what Ford was doing most of the game. That dude is usually an absolute monster. He looked like he was stuck in mud on a few plays, or he looked like his mind was somewhere else. He was so late to tackles and so late to filling in coverage. It was mind-blowing to me. That was the biggest surprise for me. I'm not shocked that Oklahoma won. I'm shocked how Oklahoma won, because I felt like once we got to the second half, Texas, at least offensively, we looked great. Quinn, I can't remember his completion percentage in the second half, but I think at one point he had only incompleted like 1 or 2 passes. Like, he made so many completions in a row.
He had a string of like 19 in a row, and then the one incompletion was that one where it should have been a pass interference, but they didn't call it. So Yeah, he was Quinn, and I know this is going to sound weird because he had 3 turnovers, 2 picks, and a fumble, but I thought Quinn played really well. Other than that, the second interception to me is just one of those bad luck things. Like if Sanders comes down with that, he's probably in the end zone, or at least we got a first down, really close. But kind of like you said, I was more kind of surprised at just how disciplined OU was in a game that you knew they were going to be hyped up for. And we just did a lot of uncharacteristic things. We had a lot of penalties. We lost our center early in the game. I think that hurt. So there was just some things that I think we talked about the game afterwards, and it wasn't one of those games where I was just like devastated because I was like, man, because I really sat there and I thought, man, we were right in the game. We should have won the game. I still believe we should have won that game, but I do think that we'll meet them again. And this reminds me so much of that year that Sam was quarterback and they played OU, and the first time we beat them, and it was the one where Dicker hits that long field goal to win it, and then we met them again in the Big 12 championship, and then Kyler Murray and company beat us to win the Big 12. This reminds me so much of that year, but reversed. Like, I feel like if we get them again, I feel like we'll take care of business. But, Texas has still got everything in front of them. They just don't have that room for error now. They can't drop a game to, TCU or somebody like that if they would have won this, they might have been able to. So, and the one good thing is all the teams that Texas has beat that we think are pretty good, they all won. Alabama beat A&M on the road. Kansas won their game going away against UCF, and then Wyoming beat Fresno State, which was a big win. So if Texas just takes care of business, wins the game that they should, they'll be right back in a position to get back into the playoffs. So.
But I'm just being honest with you. If they play like that, we're going to drop 2 or 3 games because.
Oh, I disagree. I don't. Go ahead. I'll let you finish, and then I'll jump in.
No, I just, I'm not devastated by the loss either. I think we just got outplayed. But when I was talking about we found out who teams were, I personally found out, like, okay, Texas isn't good enough just to turn it on whenever they want. And I think that's the problem I have with this team this year is they are fully capable of winning. I truly believe that they are fully capable of winning a national title this year. I do not think there is one great team in college football this year. I don't think there's any great teams. I think there's about 8 teams that realistically could win the national title this year, and I feel like Texas is one of them. But the problem I have with Texas this year, and I've said it all year on the show, is that we come out and we don't have that sense of urgency. Like Oklahoma had a sense of urgency that you could tell. Gabriel, we said it last week, the only way Oklahoma was going to win is Gabriel had to play outside of his mind. Gabriel absolutely played outside of his mind. By far his best game as a collegiate quarterback. Like, I don't even think, like, he was great because he got the ball where it needed to go. I think sometimes Quinn's talent with his arm is so good that we overcomplicate things. Oklahoma came in with a game plan and they stuck to it, and for whatever reason, we never made the proper adjustments. Now, I will say in the fourth quarter, our defense really stepped up. We had, like, when we had to get them off the field on third down, we got them off the field on third down. That's why that last drive was so frustrating because, like, they get it to Stoops. He a little 8-yard route turns into a 35-yard gain because that's one of those plays that I was talking about with Ford. Like, Ford to me was somebody that really disappointed me in this game just because I don't know on some of those replays, man, he just seemed kind of lost out there. And just to kind of wrap up, and I'll throw it back over to you to finish it up, but I want to give Oklahoma credit because we always talk about, like, man, coaches need this amount of time. Venables had them ready to play. Not only did they play well, but you just said the word discipline. They played as the more disciplined team. And Gabriel absolutely outplayed Quinn. Brooks was running the ball well, but again, 4 plays on the 1 or the 2 or 1 yard line, us not being able to get it in. Like you said, we we had every opportunity to win the game, but I also want to acknowledge like Oklahoma outplayed us, especially they made the stops that they needed to make. That fourth, that goal line stand, I thought was, and you said it while we were watching the game, that's probably going to come back and bite us. And in a way, it kind of did, because that could have really just kind of, I felt like if we would have scored a touchdown on that drive, now we're kind of, that changed the game completely. I felt like we had all the momentum going. And so, yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I disagree with you on. The first thing I agree with you is I think Gabriel played great, but statistically, if you looked at the box scores, other than turnovers, we beat them in everything. I mean, we had more yards than them, more passing yards. Our running game was going better than theirs. I know Gabriel had a big day, but that's kind of like broken plays and time of possession. We were ahead of them, so it was just one of those games, man, where like if you give up 3 turnovers and you don't get any back, you're gonna have a tough time winning. And I think we don't. I think we can play bad and still beat most teams, but we can't. If OU is gonna play their best, then we have to be pretty close. We have to give a B plus A game to pull it out. I do think OU's a lot better than I thought they were, and like you said, I know they were going to be amped up for this game. They've got a couple tough games on their schedule, so we'll see how that plays out. But
the difference was, yeah. I mean, the stats. I mean, again, stats are misleading in my opinion because yes, we did have a lot of stats, but it's not. This was not one of those games where I was looking at it like, oh well, we just dominated. We just couldn't finish plays, whatever. I mean, Oklahoma, like for the majority of the first half, outplayed us completely. We started getting things going in the third quarter, heading into the fourth quarter. We completely had a breakdown on that last drive, which I still don't understand why we were playing the type of almost like prevent, defense that we were playing. But that is the big thing. I mean, when you commit turnovers, and we had really bad turnovers early in the game, we had to kind of dig out of that hole. And again, our special teams bailed us out a little bit by putting 7 on the board. So again, I don't think we played bad. I would give us a C grade. I don't think that that's like a bad game, but it's definitely not good. I thought it was just average. Like that's our average, run of the mill game. But I will just say we're going to get everybody's best shot. The officiating, again, so some of these pass interference calls, these are ridiculous. Like we had a couple of times where we were getting held. Gabriel had a great game. I'm not taking anything away from it. But if you look at the replays, Oklahoma got away with a ton of holding calls. We also had a couple of big pass interferences that we didn't get a flag on. So I'm with you. Like we still could have won the game with all that going on. I just think that I think it was more of we didn't play better. We didn't play good enough more than Oklahoma's that good. I think Oklahoma's better than what I thought, but I still don't think Oklahoma's a top 10 team in the country, personally.
See, I do. I would put them around 10, 8 to 10. And I'm just basing that off if every team plays their absolute best, where would I have each team? I think next game, I wouldn't be surprised if you see Anthony Hill shadowing Gabriel a little bit more because I just feel like he's just kind of like a freak athlete. And I feel like you said, Ford just on some of those plays just either looked lost or he was slow a step or I don't know. It was weird. But anyways, so yeah, we got a week off.
That's a big if. I mean, we got a lot of work to do. I mean, there's a lot of season left before we potentially play Oklahoma again. I would say if that does happen, when we started making Gabriel a downfield passer is when we had the most success. So you almost have to just be okay, and it sucks because you got to pick your poison, but you almost have to be okay with him getting a 15-yard run every now and then. Try to make him pass the ball deep. Do not give up any of those over-the-middle throws, those quick outs. And you almost have to get them. They're going to get a lot of yards, but as long as we're not giving up the touchdowns, because you saw on that last play, I mean, huge miscommunication. in the biggest play of the game, we had a defensive miscommunication, and they get a touchdown. That's what was frustrating, is it looked like Oklahoma was the better coached team in terms of preparation on that game because of the lack of respect and there were not respect, but the lack of mistakes being made. Because that last drive was just so much full of them, and you're hoping that on the last drive of a game, that's when like that stuff kicks in. And Oklahoma knew exactly what to do. They marched right down the field, and we were kind of lost on a few of those plays.
Yeah, this is a last thing I'll add, and then we'll move on. But I do think Venables outcoached Sark in that game. Another thing that I was really questioning as the game, I didn't want to say anything as we were watching it because I was, we were moving the ball, and I was like, man, I don't want to say anything to kind of, like they could hear what I was saying and it was going to make a difference. But that last drive, we were going so fast. Like we were running the offense like it was a minute and a half left. I mean, we had 4 minutes that we could have chewed off that clock. I saw a thing on Twitter where somebody said that if Texas would have ran it down to like 10 seconds every play of that drive, there would have been like 15 seconds left in the game when we kicked the field goal. And it's just stuff like that, you look back, and when you lose a game like that, you look back and it's just like, God, man, how did we let that happen? How did we
and I'll defend
allow
Sark on
those kind of mental mistakes?
And I'll defend Sark on this. Is like, yes, I do think he got out coached in a way, but I almost don't want to put to, because again, Sark's not the one throwing the interception. Sark's not the one who fumbled it. So I think Sark had a good game plan. I think the defensive game plan, I thought we needed to make adjustments. I thought we did do that in the fourth quarter finally. I have no problem with us kicking the field goal. Yeah, hindsight being 2020, 4th and 4, you want to go ahead and win the game right there, get a first down. But our defense had gotten them off the field 2 or 3 possessions in a row to get us in that position. So I don't mind Sark putting the defense back out there. Our defense has been kind of not carrying us, but leading the way all season. Again, I'm with you. I'm not that concerned. I still think Texas it has got everything in front of them, like you said. But again, you do have to point out that, like, hey, like we did make some big mistakes and stuff we got to fix, especially open field tackling. I thought was the big thing that I would like to fix in our bye week.
All right, so let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about there was a lot of clock mismanagement this week. First, I'll start with a game that we watched, Alabama, Texas A&M, a really good game, a game that, again, the refs bailed out A&M on that on that blocked punt or blocked field goal return. That's one of those where it's like, yeah, you could call it, but I don't think it should have been called. But again, what are you doing as a defensive guy making that play? It's just so uncharacteristic of a Nick Saban team. And they had the ball, were moving it. All they had to do was run the clock out. And then they tried to throw a wide receiver screen that one hopped. I mean, it was one of the worst throws I've ever seen a college quarterback make. I mean, he one hopped it like halfway to the receiver. It was so weird. And it almost allowed Texas A&M to come back into that game. And then we got to talk about the Miami game against Georgia Tech. That's one of those plays and one of those losses where I don't think it's, a lot of people are saying, oh, you got to fire. I don't know if you fire, but I'm telling you, that's one that could, like, if they go into this next week and lose against North Carolina, that locker room is going to start. There could be some issues because you can't have a game that is sewn up and just give it away for no other reason than, I guess, stat padding. I don't know what other explanation there could have possibly been for them to run the ball right there. And the worst part is he's done this. He did this at Oregon. They had a game against Stanford a few years back where they did the same thing. Ran a play, running back fumbled it. Stanford got the ball, ended up winning the game. So that, we always talk about, like, you have to have perspective, man, when your team doesn't win. And, like, that's a loss that would haunt me if Texas would have lost that way.
Yeah. I got to keep saying this. It was absolutely stupid. It's the dumbest thing not to just knee the ball. That when I'd say 99.9% of the fault goes on the coaching on that. But I'll always say it, like, at the end of the day, the coaches aren't the one fumbling the ball. Okay. So again, a little bit of blame needs to go on the guy carrying the ball too. I mean, that's just my thing. Is like, again, I'm 100% with you. I think it was a stupid decision. Guy still got to hold on to the ball. But I will say, I don't think this is going to be as big of an issue long term as everybody else, because I'm a big Cristobal guy. I think he's going to do great at Miami. I think he fits the culture there. I think he's creating a Miami cult. Like, they're a tough team, and I think that he's a tough coach. And I don't. If this was another coach who was kind of like, he was kind of there, there was kind of controversy around them getting hired. Like, people, he might have, I'll put it this way. Not that there was controversy that he got hired, but if this was like a Ryan Day and Ohio State lost this way, this would be a way bigger deal, because people are just looking for something to get Ryan Day. Yeah. But all I'm saying is, I think Cristobal has the respect of the team. And I think he's going to end up doing great things at Miami. And in a weird way, this could go two ways. It could go the way you just said, or this could be the best thing that happens to him this season, because it almost lights a little bit of a fire in you, and like, you know what? I can't believe I did that. I got to make it up to my guys. And maybe the team is like, hey, we got to go play for coach, because, again, it depends on how close that locker room is. It looks to me like they got a close group. And it wouldn't, we'll talk about this game this week, but I'm telling you, North Carolina and Miami, that's going to be a hell of a game.
Yeah, I don't know if they're sitting in the locker room saying, man, we got to go win this game for coach. Like, I just feel like if I'm a player, and first of all, if I'm a quarterback and that's being called, that's just one where you got to just say, no, we're just going to need this thing. Like, it's just one of those things, man, that I don't know, man. At the end of the day, you can't second guess yourself. You just have to go on to the next game. But to have all of those things happen back to back to back to where you lose a game that you should have, I mean, you probably had like a probability of over 99% to win, and you lose. Like, that's tough,
that's
man.
But that's the difference. I don't think it was like they've been doing this all year. So, like, when the coach called it in, it wasn't an issue until he fumbled it. So this isn't one of those times where, like, in a timeout, the quarterback is trying to say, like, hey, we need to run this play. We got to run this play, coach. Like, let me just knee the ball. Let me just knee the ball. He goes, no, we're not kneeing the ball. We're going to run it, blah, blah, blah. So, again, it became a thing because the worst thing that could have happened. And I think he knows now, like, this was really stupid. But they've been doing it all year. So I just don't think it's going to be this lingering thing. And I don't think they're going to go try to win it for Cristobal by any means. But I do think that this is something that can actually make your team closer. And so this is something that they can kind of, we'll see what they're made of. Because this is you had the win in your back pocket, and it just gets taken from you. And let's not forget, they also let Georgia Tech drive the ball all the way down the field and score.
Yeah.
So, people forget about that too. So, we'll see. I'm with you. It could go that way, or it could go it could go either way, but I think Cristobal is going to have him ready to play.
All right, so let's get into this week's matchups. Like I said earlier, there's some really good matchups at the top. There's not as many big name ranked on ranked as trying to look at last week's. Yeah, I'd say it's pretty similar. I mean, you had two big games last week with OU and Texas, Bama and A&M. But we got some really good games on slate for Saturday. So first, let's start with a big one. Oregon at Washington. Washington is -3 in this one. Over under is 67 last time I looked. This is one of those games, man, that like kind of like you were saying earlier, we're really waiting to see this Pac-12 just kind of beat up on each other and see who's going to come out, on top.
Yeah.
And both of these teams I really like. I think these are the two best teams in the Pac-12, and I think it's by a pretty good little margin. I don't put USC up there with these two teams. And in this game, I just think it's going to come down to it's probably going to come down to who has the ball last. And I think I saw a stat where Oregon's like one of the best teams in the country as far as getting quarterback pressures, and Washington is one of the worst. I feel like Oregon has played some tough games. Tech going to Tech, that was a tough game on their schedule. Tech hasn't quite been the team everybody thought they would be, but I really like Oregon in this one. I just feel like they'll have enough defense to make a play here and there, and I feel like they're more balanced. So in this game, I'm going to take Oregon in the over.
Yeah, it's no secret. I'm big on Oregon this year. I do think Washington. I'm with you. These are the two best teams in the Pac-12. I think these are two of the top 6 teams. Again, it's silly because they're ranked 7th and 8th, but so let's just say top 2 of the top 8 teams. Like, I know they're ranked that way, but I legitimately think these are 2 teams that could realistically win a national championship this year. And mainly it's because they have exceptional quarterback play. The difference is I think Washington's going to have big plays, and I could see this game getting away from Oregon more than I can actually see it getting away from Washington, simply because Washington's going to have home field. Washington can put together, they're explosive in a different way than Oregon is. I feel like Oregon can just run the ball at you at such a rate, and then they can make a play over the top. Now, Oregon can make big plays too, but I feel like Washington can put 14 up on you and you blink once and it's 14-0 because their receivers are so good. And I'm going to go Oregon money line because I just think Oregon is going to come in with and this is the game plan they should have. I think they're going to run the ball very, very well. And I think that Bo Nix isn't even going to be having to make like all these Heisman. I think Penix is going to have to play like a Heisman level caliber, almost like, he doesn't have to do what Gabriel did. Like, he doesn't have to play that out of his mind. But I feel like Penix has to definitely have like an exceptional game. I think Bo Nix can just hand it off, take care of the football, and Oregon could still win the game. So it really depends on the pacing of the game. But I see Oregon running the ball a lot. I see them running the ball very effectively. Everything tells you to take the over on this. So that's what I'm going to do. This is going to be a track meet. Give me Oregon on the money line and give me the over. Yeah, but this game, this might be the most excited, other than Texas OU, because I'm biased, but this might be the most excited I've been for a game all year. Other than that game, like this game, I cannot wait to see these two teams play. This is going to be a hell of a game.
Yeah, I'm really stoked for this one too. All right, so let's move on to the next game I have written down. USC at Notre Dame. USC is the number 10 team in the nation. Notre Dame, number 21. Notre Dame is -3, and the over-under is 63. I want to double-check that because I feel like that's...
Double-check the Notre Dame?
I don't know why, but for some reason I just felt like that was...
I got it right here. It's Notre Dame's favored by 3. The over-under is 59.5 as of right now. And we're filming this on Wednesday night, just for people watching. So, yeah, I'll start with this one. I don't think USC's that good. But I think they have arguably the best player in the country. I mean, that's not a controversial statement by any means. I do think that Caleb Williams, why he's great, I don't know. He can't do it himself is what I'm getting at. And Notre Dame, I don't know if Notre Dame's just been like hit or miss for me all year. Like every time I take Notre Dame, they never come through for me. And I feel like these games, man, I feel like Notre Dame has to be gassed as a team. I mean, they are playing night game after night game after night game, nationally televised game. Like every game they're playing is a big game, and it's like the biggest game of that team's season. I think this is a perfect Heisman game for Caleb Williams. I don't know how Notre Dame keeps up with them, even though I think USC's defense is awful. Notre Dame's offense, I just feel like isn't good enough to exploit that as much as they could. And so give me USC money line on this and give me the under. I'm going to actually go a double on this one. Give me the under and give me USC money line. I think this game. I could see USC winning this game by 10. I just haven't seen enough from Hartman and that offense to warrant thinking that Notre Dame's going to put up a lot of points, even against this defense.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you on this one. I think that Notre Dame has played 3 pretty good defenses in a row. Ohio State's defense is really good. Duke's got a good defense. And Louisville, I think statistically, I saw where each of those 3 teams is like towards the top in the country in defense. And I just think Notre Dame, I think that they might have taken Louisville for granted a little bit. They're early in the season, there was a game, the first game that I watched USC play, they were playing against, was it San Jose State maybe? And San Jose State was just running, they were just running the ball all over USC in the first half. And I was just like, God, man. And I feel like that's how you stop USC. That's how you stop Caleb Williams, is you don't let him step on the field. You chew up clock left and right. I do agree with you. I'm not going to pick the under, but I do agree that I think the score is going to be a little lower than what they're used to. And I just feel like Notre Dame has been constantly challenged, and they've constantly had games come down to the wire, and they've been tested. USC has not had that yet. They had it last week against a very I don't want to say bad, because they played a couple, they played USC close and Washington close, but Arizona is not very good. And USC almost got beat by them. And if it wasn't for that weird rule that they came up with the third overtimes, who knows? They probably do lose that game. So give me Notre Dame in this one. I just feel like that's the recipe for beating USC, is you keep Caleb Williams on the bench and you just chew up clock and make every drive a really long time for their defense. And I do think their defense is that bad. I just feel like against the better teams, they're going to get exposed.
The problem is that, yeah, their defense is bad, but I truly believe it's a strategy. I'm not saying they want to give up yards and points, but I do think there has to be something to Lincoln Riley's madness where he wants to just get his quarterbacks back on the field. Now, again, I'm not saying that he's like sitting there
are you saying that they're strategically giving up points so that they can put Caleb Williams back on the field?
I'm not saying they're strategically giving up touchdowns, but
okay. Yeah.
I think they like a
I could see
pace
that.
of I think they want to get you in a shootout type of game. I think they want to run up the score on you. I think again, yeah, obviously I don't think they're giving up points on purpose, but you got to start wondering, like, why does Lincoln Riley never have a good defense? Like, or a defense
I just don't think
even...
it's first of all, I just don't think that their defensive coordinator is very good. And second of all, I just don't think it's a priority. I think he's always thinking, and maybe this is kind of what you were alluding to, is I do think that he just always thinks, well, we can just outscore you. If we give up a touchdown, okay, we'll just run the guys back out there. Like, I don't think it bothers him when the defense is giving up 35 points to Arizona or whoever. So yeah, I do agree with that, but I don't know, man. I just feel like Notre Dame is due for a bounce back. They're going to be at home, and there's just something to this that I feel like Estime is going to have a huge game. I feel like he might have the game of the year for him so far, and yeah, give me Notre Dame minus the 3. I think they could go away with this.
I just don't think that. Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. This is going to be a close game no matter what happens. I mean, and again, I think USC could win a game that's 20-13. I don't think Notre Dame can win a game that's in the 40s. So that's where my thinking is that, yeah, I think Lincoln Riley in a way kind of wants the game to get a little bit more fast paced. He's probably thinking what you're thinking is like, they're going to want to keep Caleb Williams off the field. They're going to try to control line of scrimmage. So I think he's going to stack the box a bit. And if they get beat over the top for a long touchdown, he's like, all right, cool. But I do think this is by far the best defense USC is going to go up against. I do think this is by far the best offense that Notre Dame's going to go up against. So something's got to give on one of those. That's why I do like the under, is because again, I could see USC winning an ugly 20-13 game, but I don't see any way that Notre Dame, if this game gets into the 40s, high 40s, I don't see that offense even with how bad the defense, USC's defense has been this year. Hartman is liable to make one or two terrible throws that could even be pick sixes. And I feel like Caleb Williams is just going to have this is kind of his game where he can kind of show the world again, remind everybody like, hey, I'm still the dude. And so we'll see. I'm with you. I mean, I think that it's going to be a great atmosphere, but yeah, I just don't see how Notre Dame can keep up if the game gets into a track meet type of style.
Yeah, I just don't think it will. I don't think that USC will be able to do that. USC has not played anybody remotely close to what they're going to see on Saturday. Notre Dame has. They've played better teams than USC. So we'll see. That's what makes it fun. And they're
also tired.
Man, they're 22, 21 years old. They'll be fine.
That takes a toll. No. I'm not talking physical. Mental. This is a mental game out here on the football field. So what I'm trying to say is, Lincoln Riley, let's do a little research on this. Does Lincoln Riley purposely let the other team score so he can get his guy to be Heisman every year?
That actually makes a little bit of sense now that I'm thinking about it. Because what does everybody talk about? Oh man, Lincoln Riley has this many guys that have Heismans. You know what? I'm gonna dive deep into this.
Let's do a little digging. Let's do a little digging and find out what's going on there. A lot of Heisman winners, a lot of bad defenses. I think the two are related.
Yeah. All right. Next game up, number 25 Miami at number 12 UNC. This was probably the toughest game for me to pick just because it's one of those that, you have one team. UNC's been playing really well lately. Miami coming off a heartbreaking loss. I don't know, man. I feel like UNC's a good team. I don't know if they're one of those teams that can vie for a national championship, but I do feel like they're one of those teams that could be top 10 at the end of the year. So give me UNC minus the 3.5. I don't know. I feel like that loss for Miami is going to take something out of them. Their defense hasn't been great, and I feel like this is another game where Drake May gets it rolling. They got Walker back. I feel like he starts getting more acclimated to their offense, and once they get him rolling, he's going to be a huge weapon for them. So yeah, I like the spot that UNC's in right now, and I like them minus the 3.5.
Yeah, I mean this is the one I'm kind of looking more at the over under as opposed to the line because I've been disrespecting North Carolina a bit this year. I've picked against them twice on the show, I believe. And both times they've proved me wrong. I mean, I took Syracuse last week.
Yeah,
I took Syracuse last week. Yeah. And I feel like I can't disrespect North Carolina any longer. I mean, they're winning games. They win games in a multitude of ways. I'm with you. The offense is starting to click. I think getting Walker, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right,
yeah,
I messed up on Jordan on Louisville's name. Now, so I just want to be 100% sure. Getting him back,
and he had a career day
huge.
too.
Yeah, he did. Getting him back is huge. I think Miami is a really good team. Man, and I don't think this pick has anything to do with what happened last week. But give me the over on this game. Just barely. I think this just barely gets the over. I'm going to stay away from the pick 'em because I do see a scenario. I personally think Miami might actually be a better team than North Carolina, like in all phases. But North Carolina has Drake May, and he hadn't even played like incredible this year so far. I think he's starting to get it going. And again, I'm just not going to disrespect North Carolina again. I've been wrong on them twice. They're probably better than I'm giving them credit for. So let me stay away from that. Let me just go with the over 57.5.
All right, number 18, UCLA going to Oregon State, the number 15 team in the nation. Oregon State is -4. Over under I have is at 54.5. This is a game that I think initially you would look at it and you'd be like, man, this is going to be a high-scoring game. Chip Kelly, UCLA, Oregon State likes to get up and down. But I really like both of these defenses. I think these defenses have played really well over the last few games. So I'm going to take the under in this one. And then I just really like the way Oregon State plays. I feel like they have some guys that can really make a difference for them. What is it, Martinez, the running back, and then I can't even DJ. I'm just not even going to try to say his last name.
DJ's fine.
I just feel like they got, I feel like they just got more weapons. So give me the under and give me Oregon State -4. I feel like people are overlooking Oregon State a little bit. They lost that game to Washington State, and right, they lost to Washington State.
Yes, that was.
Yeah, I think so.
That wasn't last week. That was
no, it was a few weeks ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I just like their team. I like the way they're built, and that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, give me. This is literally a coin toss for me. I think that UCLA has surprised me. I've actually watched them play a little bit. Early in the year, I didn't watch them play a whole lot. They actually surprised me, like you said, with how good their defense has been at times. It's not your normal Chip Kelly, like, you think of Oregon, you think of all that, that type of thing. This feels like a different team, but also I think that could benefit them on the road here. Give me UCLA with the +4. I want to go money line so bad, but go ahead and give me the UCLA +4. I think this could come down to a field goal. I'm not really sure how this game could go over or underwise, so I'm going to stay with that. But yeah, give me UCLA with the +4. I think that Oregon State is a really good team, but I just, UCLA's kind of surprised me this year. Games I didn't think they were going to win, they win. And I just, again, UCLA is one of those teams, kind of like I talked about with North Carolina. Like I keep saying, hey, this isn't a very good team, and they find ways to win games that I didn't think they would win. So give me UCLA with the +4.
Last game on the slate for us, I got Missouri at number 24 Kentucky. Kentucky is -2.5, over under 52.5. I almost added the Texas A&M Tennessee game, but I'm picking that in my own pick, so that's why I just kind of left it out. But this is another game that I think both teams are coming off a loss, so it's kind of lost its luster a little bit. But if both teams would have, especially if Kentucky would have won last week, it would have been a much bigger game. But Missouri lost a tough one to LSU. I really like Missouri, what they've been doing this year. I feel like they have more. I think they're more well balanced. I like their quarterback play and definitely their wide receiver play a lot. So I'm going to take Missouri in the upset going to Kentucky. I feel like that loss to Georgia, I think they got humbled a little bit. And I think that Georgia, and you called it, man, because I was on Kentucky last week and you said, man, every time that you start to believe in Kentucky, they don't just get beat, they get embarrassed. And that's exactly what happened against Georgia. I just feel like that's going to have some lingering effects. I feel like Missouri probably still feels pretty good about themselves and their team. And again, I just think they have better weapons and options. So give me Missouri to pull off the upset in this one.
Yeah, everything in my bones wants to take Missouri. I think Missouri's better. I think Missouri, again, I know I say it every week, but Missouri is a team I really liked coming into the season. I don't think it's as simple. Everybody just thinks like, man, they'll just throw away the game film last week. They'll bounce back. It's at home. I don't think a loss like that just kind of goes away. Like, if they would have played that game close, or even like somewhat, but they got absolutely manhandled the whole game. They didn't even look like they belonged on the field with Georgia, which, didn't really shock me, but, I think Missouri's got an explosive offense, so I'm actually looking at this over-under, and I'm going to take the over here. I think 51.5 is – I know the thinking is going to be, hey, these are Kentucky's defensive-minded team. Missouri likes to run the ball a lot, but I think that Cook and Burden and I just think Missouri's got too many
Trader.
weapons. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
just think that Missouri themselves this has the recipe of like that 30-27 type game. So I think we get there, but I think it's going to be one you stress about, and it's going to come down to the fourth quarter. I could actually see a backdoor cover happening where like something, defensive touchdown in the fourth quarter or something like that puts it over. But I want so badly to, you know what? I'm going to get on Missouri with you. I'm going to take Missouri money line as well. So give me 2 on this one. I'm going to go Missouri money line, and I'm going to go the over. Because I do like Missouri this year. I think Missouri's got just they're a fun team to watch too. If you haven't watched Missouri, even their kicker goes out there and kicks 60-yarders. So
Yeah. I'm just hoping that one of these money line picks that you made don't come back to bite you. I mean, I know they're low lines; they're all 3 or under, but I mean, if you lose all of those by 1 point games, that's gonna be rough.
I'm going money line this week. I'm going money line this week. You know why?
Okay.
You know why I'm taking money line this week? Because I picked Notre Dame last week, didn't win. I mean, we're going to talk about my week last week. I didn't have a great week last week. From what
no, I'm glad you brought that up. So I actually had a good week last week. So I went overall. I was 7-4, and you went 6-6. So not too bad. I mean,
that's
you went
not too
500,
bad.
but
I thought I was way worse than that.
No.
Nice.
The one that I was most, and I'll get into it again because I'm picking him again this week. But the Kansas -2, man, that was just. I looked at that and I was like, man, that I just cannot believe. And the Texas Tech -1, like that just didn't make sense to me. So,
TCU.
But
TCU
yeah, the
is
Nebraska money line.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, TCU screwed you big time. But you had Nebraska money line, which was a gutsy pick. So yeah, I mean, we did I mean, I had a good week, 7-4. I'll take that, and 6-6 isn't bad. I mean, that's.
I'm looking at kind of games where you can for me, it's kind of like if you're going to take a team plus 3.5, let's just up it to a money line. Let's get a little bit more value there. Let's get plus odds. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of where my thinking is with some of these games because the lines on these games, I just think we're going to have a great week. And I know I say it every
it's going to be a good
week,
week.
This feels like a wild week coming up. This just feels like it might be a wild week.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into our additional plays this week. So I got 6. So there were some games that I just really liked that immediately tickled my fancy, as they would say. Iowa at Wisconsin. Iowa is without McNamara. McNamara is done for the year. So give me the under 36. I know that's an insanely low number. I don't see how. I don't think Wisconsin's going to score 24 or over 24. So then Iowa's got to get to, if Wisconsin's at 24, they got to get to 13.
This
I just don't know if Iowa can score.
That you could keep it at that number, but this line has actually moved today. It's moved to 34.5.
Oh my God!
It's actually moved. So do an updated one. Do you still like it at 30? You like it at 36? For the show, I'll still give you credit for the 36 because you picked it before we recorded. But would you still take it at 34.5 if you had to make the bet today?
I think I would because I just don't. I feel like Iowa's still got a really good defense. They're going to take away the stuff that Wisconsin likes to do. Wisconsin's pretty one-dimensional. They always have been. I mean, that 34.5 is different though. But you still kind of need the same things to play out. You still there's not a ton of ways to get to 35, but there's ways to get to 34, 37, even 36, 23, 13. I think the line on this is Wisconsin -10 or something like that. So yeah, give me the under, but it's one of those, man, that anytime they get past the 50, you're just sweating it. So yeah, give me the under.
They think this game's going to be 24-10. You know what I mean? They're not even thinking Iowa's going to score over maybe over a touchdown. That's crazy.
Yeah.
What was that real low week last week? I took something. What was that real low? I took an under and over last week, and it was super low
Purdue.
like this. Was it Iowa?
Purdue. It was Purdue and Iowa over 38.5, and you hit it. So, yeah. All right, so continuing my plays, I've got Kansas -3 at Oklahoma State. That's actually my lock of the week. I feel like Kansas is really good. I think that Texas game kind of soured some people on them, but I think Kansas is really good, and I feel like that's a game that OU cannot overlook because Kansas can play this year. Texas Tech -1 versus K-State. Texas Tech will be at home. Again, I feel like Texas Tech's just better than K-State. This one was kind of tough. I almost didn't want to add it, but Texas A&M +3.5 at Tennessee. Again, I feel like that loss to Bama was a rough one, but I just don't feel like Tennessee's very good this year. And if Texas A&M is going to have any hope of salvaging their season, they have to win this game. If they don't, they're looking at another 8-4, 7-5 season. Give me BYU +5.5 at TCU. TCU sucks. They are so bad. I don't think I've ever seen a team drop off so much from a national championship game that it's just crazy. I mean, how bad they are. And I just like the way BYU plays. So, in my last one, give me Washington State -8 versus Arizona. Arizona's played a couple of good teams really close, but I think that ends, and I think Washington State puts them away.
Yeah, those are all good. I'm scrolling up because I wrote these down. I'm gonna kind of try to go by like kickoff time. I liked betting a Friday game. If this comes out before Friday, I kind of still like this Friday game. You got Colorado and Stanford. Man, the -11 for Colorado. You know what? Never mind. I'm going to stay away from it. I don't like it anymore. Let's move down. And, as soon as I looked at that, something told me stay away. So I'm going to stay away. Give me.
Just go as it's written down. I mean,
yeah,
I don't think people are going to be looking at it
too
like
difficult. Yeah, I'm sorry, y'all.
Yeah, stop
All right,
it.
here's what we're going to do. I'm going Iowa State +5. Iowa State is shocking me. Again, TCU might be really bad. Like, these teams might be really bad. But Iowa State, I thought was, honestly, a couple weeks in the season, I thought they might be the worst team in the Big 12. But Iowa State, Matt Campbell, ever since he cussed that guy out on the side, or when he was going back to the locker room or whatever, man, they've been a different team. And he's doing a hell of a job.
Who are they playing?
Because they have no business.
Who are they playing?
At Cincinnati. At Cincinnati.
Okay.
So I'm going to go Iowa State with the +5 there. I'm going to go the under on the California-Utah game, under 45.5. I see Utah, I go under. I mean, Utah is like,
yeah.
I love betting unders with Utah. Their style of play is just, that's a game I won't even watch, and I'll just hope it hits. We've already talked about those games. Florida, South Carolina. I'm going to bet South Carolina one more time this year. Every time I bet South Carolina this year, they've disappointed me. Give me South Carolina -2.5, and that's my lock of the week. I'm going big on South Carolina. My lock of the week, -2.5 with South Carolina. I didn't have this pick, but you talked about the Texas A&M Tennessee game. The more you talked about it, the more I wanted to pick it. Give me Tennessee -3 there. I just think, again, I think A&M is a good team. I just think Tennessee's got too much firepower for them. And then I got two more. Give me, I'm staying away from Iowa, Wisconsin. As badly as I want to do what I did last week and take an over on a really low score, everything you said about that game, I think is accurate. This Louisville-Pittsburgh one, man, is Louisville going to come out and be kind of like a letdown? I don't think so. I think Louisville's really good. Like you said, I think Louisville's better than I gave them credit for. Give me Louisville -7. And then my final one of the week is I'm going to look at this Kansas State-Texas Tech game. I've been going back and forth if I just want to pick the money line or if I want to pick the under of this game. And I'm going to pick the under. I just think that this could be a game where both teams run the football effectively and burn a lot of clock.
Yeah,
so
Tech has been really. Yeah, Tech has been running heavily this year. That they haven't been their normal air raid self. So yeah, I kind of like that pick as well.
There's my picks for the
All
week.
right, so those are our picks.
I want to add one last thing. If South Carolina doesn't win this week, after I gave them lock of the week, you can't let me do this, even if it's our game of the week. Like, I still pick it, but I don't get credit for it. If they don't win this lock of the week, I cannot have South Carolina be one of my additional picks any longer. Now, if they're a part of our main slate, I'll pick it. But yeah, I think Rattler, Leggett, they gotta beat Florida, man. They gotta beat them at home. So lock of the
This
week
is a
right
big
there.
game for both teams. This is a big game for both teams.
It's huge.
Because again, man, we think like, oh, if you're out of the playoff, then some of these teams, like, what are they playing for? Not everybody is a playoff team, and they know that going in. But when you start battling for recruits and stuff like that, man, these games are so big, and because they're gonna be fighting over a lot of the same guys. So yeah. So all right,
What's your
good
lock?
show.
What's
Hopefully,
your lock of the week?
My lock is Kansas -3 at Oklahoma State.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, Oklahoma State had a big win last week, but I just don't feel like they're very good.
And last question.
And Kansas's offense is really good.
What team? We got these big matchups. We've talked about the Caleb Williamses. We talked about the Drake Mays, the Bo Nix. What team and or player you feel like that we're not talking about a lot right now? Do you think there's somebody that kind of gets into that conversation a little bit, like has a big opportunity to play a big game and to kind of get that team, kind of like Oklahoma did last week? I feel like Gabriel put himself on the Heisman watch. Oklahoma's in the top 5. Is there a team this week that you feel like could do a similar thing?
I mean,
for me, it's this UCLA team.
I don't
I feel
know.
like UCLA could if they win this game. Now UCLA is like, okay, is UCLA like a dark horse to potentially make some noise in the Pac-12? I think UCLA's got a tough road, but I think UCLA is that team for me that nobody's talking about yet, but they go into Oregon State, win that game. I think people are starting to take them a little bit more seriously.
I'm going to go with North Carolina. North Carolina, if they win this game, they're next.
Yeah.
The rest of their schedule, other than they'll have Duke at home. Well, I'll take that back. I'm just not used to not seeing Clemson ranked because they got they're at the road or on the road to Clemson. But if they win this game, and they kind of open themselves up to really, getting that top 10. Now you start thinking, okay, if they can put together some wins, then
yeah,
right now that's a dark horse team. Because and again, I know we have a ton of football. Like October is notorious for upending seasons, but they meet Florida State in the ACC championship, and if they're undefeated at that point and they win that game, how do you keep them out?
Yeah,
it's just. This is what makes college football so great is, you're going to have those teams. They could be this year's TCU for all we know. They just get on a magical run and then get blown out in the championship by 70 points. So,
right.
All right. Well, great show. Thanks, Justin, for joining us. Let us know which picks or which games you're looking forward to seeing this week. It's going to be weird because Texas is off. So, we can kind of watch these games in peace and not have to worry about stressing it all. So, all right, we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.